Good morning, I'm Wayne Barrows. I'm a former congressional candidate in 2002. I'm a Seacoast small businessman, and thank you very much for Jeb having me here today. It's a real honor, and it's great to see some old friends of mine. In 2002, we really had a spirited 8-person primary for Congress, and it's my pleasure to be back here with Gary Hoffman and Fran Wendelboe, who are were not only competitors of mine, and Jeb's, and Sean Mahoney, John Stephen. Bob Bevel's also was to be here today, unfortunately, or fortunately for him, he's at the RNC, and so I'd like him to be acknowledged as well. It's easy for myself to be here today on behalf of Jeb Bradley because in 2002, I really had a chance to get to know someone that I now call a friend. In 2002, we had some spirited debates. We agreed to disagree on some issues, and what I found was that Jeb Bradley, in my opinion, truly was the best man to serve the 1st District of New Hampshire in 2002. And it's easy for me to be back here in 2008 to say the same thing. Jeb has shown that he has his finger on the pulse of the threats that face not only New Hampshire today, but face the United States. Those threats would obviously be terrorist threats from abroad and economic threats. And now is not a time for us to send somebody to Washington for on-the-job training. Jeb showed in his term in Washington that he's an extremely hard worker and a knowledgeable and extremely intelligent person who really personifies what it is to be a granite statesman. This leads me to, just reiterate to all of you here that while in 2002 we were sometimes on opposite sides of the issue, it's never been clearer to me as a husband and father of 3 and a small businessman that Jeb Bradley truly is the person that New Hampshire needs back representing them. So I ask all of you to join me on September 9th in a vote for Jeb Bradley, sending him back to Washington. And with that, I'd like to introduce my friend and fellow competitor in 2002, Gary Hoffman, to say some words as well.
Good to see you. I'm happy to be back as well. Good to see old friends, and I wish Bevel was here as well. And Jeb Bradley's become a good friend over the last few years, in addition to being a great congressman. To me, as a small business owner and a citizen of the state and country, the 2 biggest things that are important to me are support for the military. We are in the fight of our lives, and Jeb has demonstrated through his actions and his service on the Armed Services Committee that his commitment to the country and to the people take over any personal beliefs that anybody else might have. Jeb had supported the U.S. Marine Corps when they needed night vision goggles in a quick reaction situation, and Jeb makes no apologies for doing an earmark for that. His competitor keeps saying that earmarks are bad under all circumstances. Well, somebody that's been in the defense contractor business, I know it takes upwards of 3 years to get anything done. And I am proud of Jeb for supporting the Marine Corps. I would much rather have my tax dollars spent on night vision goggles for the Marine Corps than body bags for them. In addition, being a small business owner, I know Jeb is the only one in this current race that's ever had any business experience. He understands how difficult it is to meet a payroll, to meet the tax burden that we all face. And in addition to being a friend, Jeb knows what it's like to have to earn a business and pay a mortgage. And that's one of the reasons why I'm totally supporting Jeb. He has my complete support, and I urge everybody out there to please vote for Jeb Bradley on the 9th. And it's also my pleasure to introduce another old friend, Fran Wendelboe. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. It's kind of like reunion week here. You know, we had a great amount of fun in 2002 when we all ran for Congress and made lifetime friends. And while I ran on a campaign of being the true conservative in the race, I never viewed Jeb as somebody that would be unworthy of being in Congress. And I have to tell you, I was extremely proud of him when I saw the kind of job that he did as congressman. And I proudly cast my vote for him in 2004 and 2006. And there isn't any reason in the world that I see why I would not stay with Jeb and vote for him in 2008. You know, Jeb and I didn't agree on some issues, but you know, you never are 100% in agreement with a politician, unless you're that politician yourself. I hope you agree with yourself 100% of the time. And as a longtime legislator, I know how difficult it is when faced with a piece of legislation that does more good than harm, that you have to make that decision, that 9/10 of the bill is really needed and 1/10 you really wish you didn't have to have included, but you do what's in the best interest of the state or our country and you vote for it. And then to have it used against you is unfortunate. But I've never seen a congressman who's been as hardworking as Jeb was, who reached out, did all those town meetings, gave everybody his cell phone number. I can just imagine what his cell phone bill must have been. And I think Jeb has earned being sent back to Washington, and I'm going to be casting my ballot for him. And I very early on told him immediately after the '06 elections that I would be there for him, and I've kept my word. Now, there's been some controversy in recent weeks about some of the claims in this campaign about advertising and what was true and what was untrue. And there was an ad that talked about when Commissioner Stephen was at Department of Health and Human Services, his record. And there have been some letters to the editors and some press reports that have implied that Jeb lied about an investigation into John Stevens' actions. And that the audit by the LBA was just a routine thing and it was actually something for a period of time when John wasn't even there. Well, I'm here to tell you today that those claims are absolutely false. There was a call for an investigation into John Stevens' actions as Commissioner of Health and Human Services. And I can say that with the utmost authority because I wrote that request to the Legislative Budget Office in August of 2006. And I asked the LBA's office for a copy from their records. So the copy you will be getting will not be a copy from Fran Wendelbo's computer of what she says she wrote. It's a copy of a letter that was pulled right out of the LBA's files, where it says, "Dear Mr. Buckley, thank you for taking the time to meet with me last week concerning the rate-setting process for nursing home beds. It is obviously apparent that someone credible needs to examine the billing and reimbursement compared to actual statutory language, the budget, and the department's implementation. Of particular concern is the practice of budget neutrality and how that is defined and implemented and what authority and circumstance it is based on. I believe that legislative intent also needs to be taken into consideration in this examination, especially in relationship to the Medicaid Quality Incentive Program, of which I was the original author. I ask that your department do an audit of this process as soon as possible. I am not asking for a regular LBA fiscal committee type audit, but just want to physically send your staff over to examine the numbers and billings and payments to the federal government. We will then have a clear understanding of what we need to do legislatively to prevent a pass down of costs to the counties in this area." Don't think it can get any clearer than that there was a very specific call for an audit of John Stevens' actions. And so I hope that with the release of this letter to you, it will put to bed any claims by Commissioner Stephen that this audit had nothing to do with his actions.